Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swami Saranammayappa. Hare Hare Mahadev. Good evening, everybody. If you just tuned into the show and if you're watching this for the very first time, welcome to Atten Bull TV. This is the Journey Show, our spiritual show about exploring Hinduism as a whole. You don't have to be a Hindu to watch the show. And if you want to interact with us in studio today, please do so, because I am your host, Kimera Heeralal today, and you can interact with us with the contact details at the bottom right of your screen, or you could use the bottom column where it says live chat. And as we're speaking about that, we got Kim Padachi coming in, and she says Vanakkam, as well as Ramashni Padachi coming in. Vanakkam to both of you. Thank you guys so much. All the way from Bakerton, everybody. All right. Special thank you as I open up the show today to Andy Poonen, who helps me in production, as well as Ramashni Padachi all the way in Bakerton. Thank you, honey, for helping me with the research and everything of the show. All right. So if you are watching the show for the very first time, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it already. Once you're on our page, ladies and gentlemen, please do click on the bell, clicking the word all, which will help you to always see when we are streaming live, as it'll notify you. All right, opening up the show today, we spoke about Lord Shiva last week, Monday. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, we do. Hence, I'm wearing blue. It's his color and all of that. So yeah, we spoke about Lord Shiva. We went into depth a bit about it. We spoke about the Shiva Lingam and we mentioned different types of Shiva Lingams. And if you missed the show, please scroll back to the last show and have a look-see at what we spoke about there. Now, today we're moving on to the topics of the avatars of Lord Shiva. Now, this is going to be a beautiful show. This is not only about Lord Shiva. It's not only about me speaking about the spiritual path and about God. It's not only that. We're going to mention a few things about moving on to the chapter of 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to mention a bit about music. As we know, we're here to always entertain you. We got Zanande Blouse coming in. She says, good evening. Looking forward to learn about Hinduism. Thank you so much, honey. All right. So, not forgetting, ladies and gentlemen, we also have a little bit of info put together about Lord Shiva, as whatever we speak about today, we do a little showcasing for you, videography, and make it look a bit pretty, so you enjoy it a little bit. And then not forgetting, we teach you a bit of lessons from the Thirukkural. Every single day we put one of the 108 lessons up just for you to take home with you, or wherever you might be watching. If you are in your home, I hope you guys do learn something from this show every day. As it's a spiritual journey, as it's called a journey. Well, stay right where you are. We're going to come back straight after this commercial break. Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swami Saranammayappa. Hare Hare Mahadev. Welcome back, everybody. Good evening to all of those who just joined us. You are streaming live with us on Atten Bull TV. Yeah. This is the Journey Show. It is a spiritual show about exploring Hinduism as a whole. I'm your host, Kimera Heeralal, and if you'd like to interact with us in studio today, please do so with the contact details at the bottom right of your screen, or you can use the bottom column where it says live chat. And coming in on YouTube, Amanda Blows. Good evening. It's Amy, by the way. Good evening, Amanda Blows. Okay, Amy, thank you so much for joining us in studio as we're talking about Lord Shiva today. Now, according to my directors and my producers and everybody in the team, in the Atten Bull TV team, thank you guys so much, we decided to talk about the avatars of Lord Shiva. All right. Now, looking at Lord Shiva, now don't forget, if you missed last week's show, then there's no use watching this show. Go back a little bit, but I'm sure you'll be able to catch up, maybe. Zananda Blow's coming in. You're looking amazing. Thank you, my angel. I wish I could see you too. I'm sure you look amazing too. Thank you so much. All right. So, talking about the avatars of Lord Shiva, right? Let's talk about it's to sustain the law and the balance or the nature of existence, or existence rather, we call it. So, avatars of Lord Shiva. Get a pen and paper if you want to learn or you want to take notes, right? Now, to sustain the law and the balance of the nature or the existence, Lord Shiva took many avatars in various yogas. And Kurma Purana mentions that 28 avatars of Lord Shiva, however, the Shiva Purana mentions only 19 avatars, right? And the Shiva Purana was recited by Lord Shiva himself to Lord Brahma. Now, it was then initiated by sage Vyasa to his disciples, sage Shanak and sage Sutta, for the benefit of mankind. Now, Saturudra Samhita of Shiva Purana mentions that the Lord Shiva had taken countless incarnations in different kalpas or aeons. Now, guys, please, I say this in the most respectable manner. I am English speaking, so do forgive me for my mispronunciation for any words or any names in the language. All right. So, if you got the bit of an intro, now let's start with the first avatar, right? Let's talk about Piplad avatar. Now, don't forget, this is an open platform. If you have something to share about your belief or your the way you grew up and were taught things, you're welcome to share it on this platform at the bottom column where it says live chat. This is not a platform for fighting or arguing. It's about sharing our beliefs and actually learning from one another. All right. Andy Poonen coming in on Facebook saying, Vanakkam everyone. Vanakkam Andy Poonen. All right. So let's talk about Piplad avatar. Now, Lord Shiva took this avatar to help his devotees suffering from Shani Dosha. Now, the name Piplad was given by Lord Brahma, right? According to the legend, Lord Shiva was born to Dachichi and his wife, and Swarcha as Piplad. Now, as he grew, he learned that he lost his parents at birth due to the unfortunate circumstances caused by the planetary position of Shani Dev. Now, Piplad cursed Shani Dev, and following which he fell from his celestial abode. Oof. Now, due to intervention by Devtas, Piplad forgave Shani Deva on one condition, that he will not trouble anybody before 16 years of age. Now, it is said that those who pray to this form of Lord Shiva get rid of Shani Dosha. Interact with us in studio today, Ramashni Parachi. If you are still watching the show, help us out here, darling. I'd like to ask you as a public a question. What is Shani Dosha? Interact with us, Ms. Parachi, if you can, if you are still watching the show. Moving on, everybody knows the Nandi avatar in the Hindu culture. For those of you who are non-Hindu and are learning about this for the very first time, Nandi is where you see, it's actually a bull. Nandi is a bull. Okay, and it's a male, by the way. I've learned, I'm not going to even lie about this. I always thought Nandi was a girl because of the way it says Nandi. You'll think it's feminine. So Nandi is a bull, not a cow, it's a bull. And this form of Lord Shiva was born to sage Shalada. Now the sage performed intense penance to seek Lord Shiva's blessings and ask for a child who would remain immortal. Now therefore, pleased by sage's devotion, Lord Shiva took birth as Nandi, who then became the gatekeeper at Lord Shiva's heavenly abode, Kailasha and the mount of Lord Shiva. Learn something new today, huh? Interact with us in the studio today. Contact details right there at the bottom right. You can use the bottom column. Interact with us as we're talking about all the avatars of Lord Shiva. Now, let's look at the story of Nandi a little bit, right? I know you guys are wondering, wow, I didn't know that was Lord Shiva. Okay. So once there was a virtuous sage named Shalada. All right, and Shalada did not have any children of his own, or so he decided to worship Lord Shiva to get a special child blessed by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva prayed intensely and immersed himself in austerity for thousands of years. Now, pleased by his dedication, Lord Shiva finally appeared before Shalada. And Lord Shiva had told Shalada to wake up and told him what boon did he seek. So Shalada said that, he only had one aspiration, and that was that he wished to have a child. And Lord Shiva smiled and said that Shalada would have it soon. Lord Shiva left the place, okay, and Shalada had returned home and was happy knowing that Lord Shiva would bless him with a child. The very next day, Shilara had gone to the farm to begin his plowing. And when he found a beautiful baby in the field before he started his plowing, Shilara stared at the baby, who was bright as the sun, when he heard a voice from heaven saying, "Shilara, take the child, bring him up well." Shilara was overjoyed as he had taken the boy home. He named the boy Nandi. And from childhood, Nandi was devoted to Lord Shiva. Now, Shilara brought up Nandi with love and care, and he actually taught him the Vedas, the arts of medicine, fighting, dancing, singing, and other sacred texts. Now, a few years later, two sages, Mitra and Varuna, came to Shilara's home, and Shilara gave the sages refreshments and a place to rest. Now, Shilara asked Nandi to take care of the sages and ensure that they are well looked after. Nandi looked after the two sages, and after staying for a couple of days, the sages left to continue their journey. Before they had left, Shilara and Nandi took their blessings. Now, the sages blessed Shilara to have a long and happy life. Now, when Nandi fell at their feet to seek blessings, the two sages looked slightly sad. And they blessed Nandi to be well and to be good to his parents and teachers, and then left. Shilara noticed that the change in the sages' expression and ran outside the house to ask the sages why they had looked so sad while blessing Nandi. And the sages said that they could not wish Nandi a long life, as he did not have a long life to live, and this was his fate. Shilara had slowly walked back home with a broken heart. Nandi also had seen that something was wrong and asked Shilara. Shilara related his conversation with the two sages, right? And Nandi started laughing, and at this surprised Shilara, Nandi told his father that he had told him that he had seen Lord Shiva, and that anyone who had seen Lord Shiva cannot be afraid of what the sages said. Nandi told Shilara that if it was his fate to die, then Lord Shiva could reverse his fate. Nandi also told his father that Lord Shiva would not let anything happen to him if they were worshipped, or if they worshipped him. He also asked his father to bless him, and Shilara blessed him and told him to be victorious. So Nandi went near River Bhavana and entered the river to begin his penance, right? And Nandi's devotion was so great and his concentration was so high that Lord Shiva had appeared in front of him. And Lord Shiva asked Nandi to open his eyes, and Nandi opened his eyes, and before him stood the most beautiful person Nandi had ever seen. Nandi looked at Lord Shiva, wanting to savor his image, and he had felt that he had nothing more left to ask. And suddenly a thought had come to his mind. If only he could always remain with Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva looked at Nandi and said that his penance was so powerful that it had brought him there. And that Lord Shiva told Nandi to ask him anything, he would grant it to him. Nandi replied that he wished to be with Lord Shiva always. Lord Shiva smiled and said that he had just lost his bull on which he used to travel, and henceforth, well, Nandi shall have a face of a bull. Nandi will stay in his home at Kailash and be the head of Lord Shiva's Ganas, as well as his companion, vehicle, and friend. Beautiful story on Nandi there, ladies and gentlemen. We got Ramashni Parachi coming in. She explains what we were asking earlier. A person with Shani Dosha may face health issues or incur loss or business or experience failure in career or relationships. However, the effects vary depending on the position of various planets. Thank you so much, Ramashni Parachi, for that. That was amazing. All right, so we just finished off with Nandi the bull, right? Beautiful story. Interact with us in studio today. If you have another belief or another story to tell or legend, comment at the bottom of the screen where it says live chat. I'd like to hear from the public. What's your take on Nandi? any takers. It doesn't matter, even if you don't know if it's really true. Share your opinion, share your beliefs, share the stories you were raised with. We'd like to interact with the public right here on Attenville TV. You're currently watching The Journey Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back straight after this commercial break.
You can do anything. All you need is determination and a fresh pair of these nallies. But what's the point of looking like Injay game if all your money is on your feet and your dreams go up in flames? In this world of doing it for Ikram, do you want a bank that takes your money or a bank that takes your money seriously?
Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swami Saranam Ayyappa, Hare Hare Mahadev. Welcome back, everybody. If you just joined us, you are streaming live with us on Attenville TV. You're currently watching the show called The Journey, and this show is all about exploring Hinduism as a whole. I'm your host, Kimera, Heeralal, and if you'd like to interact with us in studio today, please do so with the contact details that you'll find at the bottom right of your screen, or you could use the bottom column where it says Live Chat. Now, before we cut to commercial, we were talking about the story of Nandi. Now, before we move any further or to the next avatar of Lord Shiva, let's take a little look at, we're going to call them anonymous. They didn't want to share their name with us, but today they are performing with us musically, Hare Hare Mahadev.
Shiva Mahadev Kailash Bam 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 Bolo. See, as I grew up I always felt distant. I never felt like I really belonged. Oh yeah. See, I always wondered if something was wrong with me. I always observed others from afar. Oh yeah. I remember well tagging along the crowd, feeling kind of awkward, I didn't know why. I remember vividly in my mind. Oh yeah. Yeah, the only child looking at the other side, feeling curious, anxious at the same time, but deep inside it just felt so right. Mahadeva, you are the source of life and all. You even reside inside a Perumal, ripping through the time where my heart goes. Yeah, Mahadeva, formless and from you are the Shiva Linga, existing in all you are the Parashiva. Remembering you is my Mahadeva. Yeah. Never realized you came out of the blue. You assumed the form for me to meet you, as I had been yearning for these truths. Never thought that one could live in the way that you do, the embodiment of supreme truth, just molding my life to be like you. There I was years later, I was lying on my balcony as I was deeply wondering what was really happening. Looking at the sky, tears rolling down my shoulders as I'm asking myself how to make my life fuller. My eyes trying hard to pierce through your endlessness, unable to do, overwhelming powerlessness. Starting to realize the depth of your greatness as I'm surrendering to your boundless powerfulness. Deva Hara Mahadev Bam Bam Bholenath Jai Vishwanath Digambara Rupa Agara Swarupa Paramahamsa Nitya Nitya Nityananda. Deva Hara Mahadev Bam Bam Bholenath Jai Vishwanath Digambara Rupa Agara Swarupa Paramahamsa Nitya Nitya Nityananda. Mahadeva, you are the source of life and all. You even reside inside a Perumal, living through the time where my heart goes. Yeah, Mahadeva, formless and from you are the Shiva Linga, existing in all you are the Parashiva. Remembering you is my Mahadeva. Yeah. Never realized you came out of the blue. You assumed the form for me to meet you, as I had been yearning for these truths. Oh yeah. Never thought that one could live in the way that you do, the embodiment of supreme truth, just molding my life to be like you. Mahadeva. In Vietnam, staggered in my penthouse, sitting with myself lost in thoughtlessness. Suddenly I'm clear about my life's purpose. Mahadeva, Hara Mahadeva, Bam Bam Bholenath, Jai Vishwanath, Digambara Rupa, Agara Swarupa, Paramahamsa Nitya Nitya Nityananda. Deva Deva, Hara Mahadeva, Bam Bam Bholenath, Jai Vishwanath, Digambara Rupa, Agara Swarupa, Paramahamsa Nitya Nitya Nityananda.
Round of applause to Anonymous that submitted their content this evening. Oh my god. Okay, so that was Hare Hare Mahadev. That sounded like Despacito. We had Amanda Blouse coming in on YouTube saying, for a moment I thought it was Despacito. And she says, it's so amazing. Wow, I think I'm obsessed with this. Honey, don't say you're obsessed. You say you are spiritually uplifted. Just a quick one. All right, Ramati Barachi. Wow, never thought Despacito could be turned into a version like this. Thanks, Ramati. I also didn't think that we were allowed to do that. I thought there was certain, sacred instruments when you're praising and worshiping. But you know what? Whatever you're doing musically, as long as it's coming from the heart, I suppose it gives off a good vibe or a good energy. And that's what Hinduism is about. The energies. Yeah? All right, if you just joined us, you're all a little late. You're halfway through the show here. But today, because it's a beautiful Monday, Hare Hare Mahadev, it is about Lord Shiva. And we're talking about his avatars this evening. And we've just finished off with a story relating to Nandi and talking about Nandi's, story. If you'd like to interact with us and share with us your story, you can do so as, Zanande Blouse comes in. Wow, amazing song. Thanks, Zanande. I also think that was amazing. Very nice, very well done to Anonymous. We would have liked to know your name when you're submitting your content. Please, guys, if you do have talent and you want to showcase it right here on Actonville TV, drop us a WhatsApp on 074-660-5829. If you missed the number, it will be at your bottom right of the screen throughout the entire show. And ask us how you can go about showcasing your talent on Actonville TV. It doesn't always have to be on this show. It can be on any other show as well. All right, Zanande coming in again. Wow, amazing. All right, now, looking at our topic for today, right? We're going to move on from the Nandi story. If you missed the show, you can click on the link again a bit later and watch the show. Now, let's talk about Veerbhadra avatar. All right, so now, Sati, the youngest daughter of King Daksha, married Lord Shiva against Daksha's wishes, right? And once Daksha organized a grand yagna where he invited everyone except Lord Shiva and goddess Sati, Sati went to the ceremony uninvited. Okay. Now, the affection for her parents overpowered the social etiquette and hence she attended. Now, when I pull my face funny, it's being a typical lady, being like a mother form, being everything, and you will go. If you're meant to go, you'll go. Now, when Daksha saw Sati, he publicly insulted her and taunted her. Now, Sati, unable to bear the humiliation, jumped into the sacrificial fire and killed herself. Now, filled with sorrow and anger, Lord Shiva took 2 locks of his hair and threw them onto the ground. Thus, Lord Veerbhadra and Bhadrakali were born. Okay? Now, these 2 forms had terrible fiery eyes burning with anger, open hair, dark skin with garland of skulls holding weapons. Now, all of you that don't understand or look at Hinduism as a bit of a mockery, now we're telling you the story as to how the Bhadrakali was actually born. So Lord Veerbhadra and Bhadrakali were born. Now you know those gods that people like, why do they look that way? They look so scary, they look fierce, they look demonic. No, this is the story as to why they look that way. All right. So these are the 2 forms that had fiery eyes, And remember, I was talking about the dark skin and the skulls. Everybody sees that garland, that skulls. It looks like a chain of skulls. Yes, everybody, that is called a garland of skulls. Now, yes, you do see our gods holding weapons, and it looks scary, it looks terrifying. But it's actually, the word is called fury, right? Now, Bhadrakali, a wrathful incarnation of Devi, was born to provide Veerbhadra with the power. After landing at Daksha's yagna, they had both wreaked havoc, punishing all who had mocked Lord Shiva and forced Sati to kill herself. This fierce avatar is said to have broken the sacrificial vessels, polluted the offerings, insulted the priests, and finally cut off Daksha's head, trampled on Indra, broke the staff of Yama, scattered the gods on every side, and then he returned to Mount Kailash. This avatar indicates Lord Shiva's love for his wife. Interact with us in studio today if you have any other information or story you'd like to share, as we're currently speaking about Veerbhadra avatar. Now, for those of you who just learned about the Bhadrakali and the you see the goddess with the skulls around her neck, I'm so happy to have presented this today. Thank you again to Ramashni Padachi for helping me with this information. It's been beautiful. All right, let's move on to the next avatar. Bhairava avatar. Okay, so the Bhairava avatar, or they call it the Kal Bhairava, also is one of the fiercest avatars of Lord Shiva that is often connected with annihilation. Okay, annihilation. Now, referred to as Dandapani, right? The Bhairava avatar punishes those who are greedy, lustful, and arrogant. Now, as per the Shiv Mahapuran, the Lord Shiva incarnated as Bhairava to punish Lord Brahma, who in his ego insulted Lord Shiva. Right? We did the story on Brahma before. If you missed the shows, please go back and watch it again. Otherwise, none of this would make sense. All right, so there's another legend, right, is that when Lord Vishnu had asked Lord Brahma who was the supreme creator of the universe, right? Lord Brahma, being arrogant, told Lord Vishnu to worship him as the supreme creator. This behavior of Lord Brahma has angered Lord Shiva, who then incarnated into Bhairava basically to punish him. So now, Bhairava astride a fearsome black dog as his mount, beheaded the fifth head of Lord Brahma. The skull got stuck to the nail that was used to cut off his head and is known as Brahma Kappa. All right. Now, at all the Bhairav temples, right? At all of them, the description of Brahma Kapal, it's a skull, right? It's what we talk about, the skull of Brahma, right? At the Brahma Kapal, it's stuck to the nail that was used to cut it off and can be actually seen. Now, thus, Lord Brahma's ego got destroyed and became enlightened and deeply grateful to Lord Shiva. Now, as per another legend, Lord Shiva took the avatar of Kala Bhairava to guard the Shakti Pith. Now, after the death of Sati, Lord Shiva wandered all over the world in sorrow, taking her body along. Now, to get Lord Shiva back into his senses, Lord Vishnu also used his Sudarshan chakra to cut Sati's body into 52 pieces. Now, wherever those pieces fell, arose a Shakti Pith. Now, each Shakti Pith is accompanied by a temple dedicated to Bhairava, protector of Shakti Pith. Well, interact with us in studio today as we've spoken about. I think we did 4 avatars today. And as you know, there are many avatars which cannot be included in the show, as we have to continue our research, and we'll continue with this as we go along with the show. Now, if you want to interact with us in studio today, of all the avatars we've spoken about today, you're welcome to interact with us in studio today and talk about each avatar that we've mentioned. If you feel I haven't delivered this information or this teachings properly, you can drop us a WhatsApp or an email, or you can drop us a message right there in the live chat. I'm welcoming even healthy criticism from the public. We are talking about the avatars of Lord Shiva. So, just a quick recap. We spoke about Pip Lord Avatar, the Nandi Avatar. We also mentioned the story of Nandi. And not forgetting, my last but not least, my favorite Veerbhadra Avatar. And finishing off the story for this evening was the Bhairava Avatar. Now, there's only 4 avatars mentioned today, but there are quite a few left to do. As we go along with the show, we'll teach it. Now, Don't go anywhere. We got Shashi Hussain coming up in a couple of minutes. But take a breather, absorb the information I've just shared with you this evening. We'll come back straight after this commercial break.
You can do anything. All you need is determination. And a fresh pair of these nallies. But what's the point of looking like Injay game if all your money is on your feet and your dreams go up in flames? In this world of doing it for Ikram, do you want a bank that takes your money or a bank that takes your money seriously?
Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swamiye Saranam Ayyappa. Hare Hare Mahadev. Welcome back, everybody. If you just joined us, you are still streaming live with us at Atonville TV. This is the journey show you're currently watching, and this is the show about exploring Hinduism as a whole. I'm your host, Kimera Heeralal, and if you'd like to interact with us in studio today, please do so with the contact details that you'll find at the bottom right of your screen, or you could use the bottom column where it says live chat. Now, before we get a little boring and you think, okay, this girl is all about talking about avatars of Lord Shiva. Maybe some of you don't agree with what I've delivered, but today we only did 4 avatars. Now, as you know, according to the Kurma Purana, there's 28 avatars, right? And then there's a Shiva Purana which mentions only 19 avatars. So now we're going to see as we go along with the show if we can cover those avatars, because we don't have enough time to do all of them. But today we did cover the 4 of them, which I've mentioned before we cut to commercial. But coming up next, just to relax your brain a little bit, everybody knows, if you're Christian or you're English speaking and you're like, okay, each culture has a Bible. And each, the Christians have a Bible, right? Or you'll say the Muslim, they have a Quran. Now we as Hindus, we have the Bhagavad Gita. So today, presenting our chapter 2. If you missed it, go back to the last show. Today we're going to cover chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, all the way in London. Who's helping us this evening? Shashi Hussain.
Namaste, I'm Shashi Gosai. So now we're on to the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's perhaps one of the most important chapters in the book because it goes through the key elements, the key messages that Lord Krishna wants to convey to us. It gives a practical and spiritual guide to living life correctly. So in the first chapter, we saw Arjuna completely immersed in grief caused by attachment and delusion. And in his panic state, he just wants to withdraw from the war and go home. So the second chapter is opened by Sanjay, who is having a conversation with Dhritarashtra. Sanjay opens this chapter giving a vivid description of Arjun, his state of confusion, grief, and actually crying. And this gives Dhritarashtra a glimmer of hope for his sons. Krishna uses very tough words to get Arjuna out of this state of panic. He tells him that this is not the time to think about sorrow or whether this is right or wrong or whether he should have done the war at all. He tells him to get out of this confusion and look for this higher planes of intelligence. So Arjuna slowly calms down and starts opening about logic and understanding and reasoning. Arjuna is confused, to fight or not to fight. And this is a fundamental question that has led to the whole message in the Gita. Arjuna finally realizes that his mind has been thrown off balance due to attachment. And he's asking for Krishna's guidance of how he should now conduct himself. So at this stage, Arjun becomes a Shishya and Krishna becomes a Guru. So Shishya-Guru's relationship has been set up and the stage is set for the actual message of Gita. So Sri Krishna at this stage gives a slight smile because now he knows it's the time to deliver the sermon for which he was there in the first place. Arjuna is stuck with grief on one side and trying to display logic on the other side, a state of confusion. And this shows us that logic and grief cannot go together. We have to reason ourselves. So this is how we start. Krishna tells Arjuna that there is no need to grieve for the living or the dead. Death is inevitable. We have to enjoy and appreciate the living. So Krishna ji instructs Arjuna that to assess any life situation, you should have logic and reason and not to be swayed by emotion. So Krishna says all of us are timeless and eternal. We've always existed in the past and we shall exist in the future. Now, according to physics, matter cannot be created or destroyed, and it only undergoes from one change to the other. We all know that through physics. So this is a fundamental science law which has been laid down in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is what Hinduism is all about. The body is born, goes through changes, through childhood, through youth, to old age, and then eventually perishes. So although the body has changes, but the body dweller or the Atma, which is inside us, remains constant. It's been there even before we were born, and will continue once the actual body perishes, but the Atma stays constant and takes on a new body. So this is another very fundamental rule of Hinduism, that the body dies, the Atma doesn't die. Your eternal essence, and that's your internal being, your body dweller, doesn't die. So Arjuna asked Krishna, how do we get the wisdom of seeing this eternal essence? How do we live? And Krishna replies that life is a series of events. It's a series of experiences that come, exist temporarily, and then perish. You don't have the same experience throughout your life. You have a cycle of experiences, and there's a different meaning every time. And the person who can stay steadfast throughout these ups and downs of life is the one that is called Dhira, the enlightened one. So Krishna tells to Arjuna that he should not think that the body is him. He should associate himself with the Atma, or the body dweller, which will never die, and he can't kill any other Atma, so there's no need for grief. So this is a very fundamental point that we are reminded throughout Gita. So Krishna reminds Arjuna that any material body, including the human body, goes through 6 different stages in life. So it's born, and then it exists, then changes, then grows, then decays, and then eventually perishes. But the Atma, or the eternal essence, doesn't change. It just remains constant. And so even when it perishes, because it's going to be there forever, there is no need to grieve. And this message he keeps giving to him, so that to get him out of that state of just delusion and grief. After having used logic in his teachings, Krishna then resorts to a tool of persuasion, of emotion. And he persuades Arjuna to carry out his duty, or the Swadharma. Krishna reminds Arjuna that as a true warrior, he should be looking forward to fighting the mighty army of the Kauravas. And that's his duty. And when you shirk your duty, it is absolutely a sin under cosmic law. Krishna reminds him that everyone will be talking about his infamy, his condemnation, and the shame that he brought. And what is a bigger sorrow for a warrior to get this kind of abuse? Krishna says if you're killed, you will get heaven, and if you win, you'll enjoy the earth. So take action, engage in war, and under no circumstances can there be no action. There can be no inaction. And this is also another philosophy that we have to believe. We have to take action or do our karma. And this actually concludes the first part of the teachings. And this is called Sankhya Yoga, which is the relationship of the body with the Atma. So this concludes his first lesson that he wants to teach Arjuna in how to actually deal with the situation he is at the present. So the first part is called the discipline of knowledge. And the second part is called the discipline of action, or Karma Yoga. And this is actually a practical toolkit of how we should deal with situations that we come across now. And there are 5 fundamental points, or called Buddhi Yoga, that Krishna ji tells us, and they are: reduce the quantity of unnecessary thoughts of materialism. Slowly improve the quality of your thoughts. Be mindful of what we are thinking. Reduce any thought that demonstrates extreme attachment or hatred towards any object. For example, love, hate, joyful, sorrow, pleasure, painful. Stop worrying about acquisition and preservation. Perform actions focusing on the present moment without attachment to the result of action. Krishna ji says that once our thoughts become high quality, we are ready for spirituality. We need less external stimulation and entertainment to keep us happy. Another very fundamental point, which is elaborated further on in other chapters. Krishnaji says that you can choose your action but not the result. The result depends on laws of action and other unexpected things that can happen at the same time. And you can just hope for the best, but should be prepared for the worst. And this holds true in everything we do in life. When one acts with this understanding, success and failure will lose the capacity to shake him in any way. But action has to be taken, and this is a skill in action. So if one maintains this equanimity in mind, the actions become more perfect because you're not distracted, you have your goal, and there is absolutely no need to worry for the result. And automatically, because you're so focused, the result will be more beneficial than if you were distracted. A simple phenomena, but sometimes we forget this. A tranquil mind will not get distracted by outside stimuli, but instead will start looking within ourselves, within the Atma. And this is a self-knowledge which will liberate us from this entanglement of birth and death. And this thinking is called Param Viragya. It's a state of equanimity, a state of steady wisdom, which is so important that sometimes we forget when we are in our panic situations. And it's a toolkit that Krishnaji has reiterated for us even today. So Arjun asked Krishna, what does this person look like, the one who's got this self-knowledge, or what we call the Sthita Prajna? How does he walk, sit, talk? And because he was a practical man, he's a warrior, he wants to actually see a physical representation so he can start emulating it, copying him. And that he thought was the perfect way of actually learning what Krishnaji is trying to tell him. So Krishnaji replies that when an individual gives up all desire that enter his mind and is self-satisfied within himself, that person is got steady wisdom. He's independent of the world to be happy. He's happy within himself. He's free from all attachments, hatred, desire, fear, elation, depression. And though he's living in the same world like everybody else, he's happy within himself no matter what is happening around him. And to him, the wise man is the one that sees the Atma at all times, not only in himself, but in everyone around him. So Arjuna asks, how can he remain steadfast when one can get dangerous thoughts and dangerous actions happening? And Lord Krishna says, you should act like a tortoise. A tortoise has got a shell and the limbs withdraw when they see danger. And he says, if you can withdraw into a mind and just shut down and just don't look at the danger, you'll be free from it. So this tortoise is something that is used as an analogy in a lot of Hinduism, that it lets us be within ourselves without having the external stimuli really affecting us because of the hard shell it has. And he says the same, that we should just withdraw into our own selves and bring our intellect and our reasoning before us and shut out all the negative thoughts. And then once the danger has gone and once the thoughts have subsided, you can start looking at the whole world around you as it is, and not be clouded with your judgment, with your delusions, or with whatever the negative thoughts that are going in your mind. Krishna says, the person whose mind and senses are under his control is devoid of attraction or revulsion. He moves with tranquility and his sorrows are destroyed. He will feel joyful all the time, and his mind becomes steady, and something that'll give a lot of peace and what we call the equanimity. Krishnaji says that an individual whose mind and senses are not controlled, he cannot have a focused intellect, he cannot have a focused mind, and he cannot then meditate. And if you can't meditate, you cannot have peace. So how can you be happy without peace? A very fundamental point. Krishnaji gives the comparison of a man's mind to an ocean. An ocean is unaffected by how many rivers are coming in, whether they are clean, dirty, fast, slow. And similarly, a wise man's mind is independently full. and it is undisturbed by good or bad experiences. Anything that's happening around him does not affect the wise man's mind, senses, or intellect. And that is what was so important in this whole second chapter. This is what he was leading up to. So this concludes the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But I would still like to go back to the four main fundamental points that Krishna ji has taught us in this. The first one was informing Arjun that his logic and reasoning was incorrect. Second, explaining the correct logic and reasoning to Arjun. Third, providing practical guidance and implementing the correct logic and reasoning. 4, describing the attributes of a person who actually follows these teachings. Amazing, isn't it? Even effective.
Beautiful delivery of chapter 2, the Bhagavad Gita from Shashika's side, all the way in London, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back straight after this commercial break. Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swamiye Saranam Ayyappa, Hare Hare Mahadev. Welcome back, everybody. If you just joined us, you are streaming live with us on Atinville TV. This is the Journey Show, a spiritual show about exploring Hinduism as a whole. I'm your host, Kimera Heeralal, and you can interact with us with the contact details found at the bottom right of your screen, or you could use the bottom column where it says live chat and join us. Now, excuse me, moving forward from the 4 avatars that we spoke about earlier, we'll speak about the rest, I don't know if we're going to do it tomorrow or decide to do it next week. Let's see how things go and how things place or piece out. All right. Now, today is Lord Shiva's day. It's a Monday today. Okay, happy Monday, everybody. Now, looking at Lord Shiva as who he is and what part he plays in the role of Hinduism, let's go and dig a little on the role of Lord Shiva as Mahakala, and he's known as the Lord of Time in something called Vedic astrology. Now, overall, Shiva is as Mahakala, right? Called that. Now, they call it the great deity of time. Now, Shiva rules over the eternity as well as all of the planets from which various times like circles actually emerge. So now, Ganesha, his first son, is the Devata or Vedic astrology overall, and he actually rules over the dispensation of karma. Now, the Mahakala Shiva Linga in Ujjain, also known as the Madhya Pradesh, near the Tropic of Capricorn, was traditionally the main center of Vedic astronomical calculations for India as a whole. Now, as Mrityunjaya, the one who conquers death, Shiva takes us beyond death and sorrow. And also as the supreme yogi and the Adinath, he is the ultimate guru. And as Omkara Shiva is the basis of all the universal forces of time. However, we wish to look at him in terms of Vedic astrology. Shiva is the essence of all. Om Namah Shivaya Vamadeva. Thank you so much for that, Josh, helping me with my Vedic astrology this evening. Hope you guys learned a little something. Here's a little info snippet put together just for you guys about Lord Shiva, his temple in ancient China. Let's take a look.
जय शिव ओंकारा ओम हर शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिव ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिव हरधांगी धारा ओम जय शिव ओंकारा चतुरानन पंचानन राजे स्वामी पंचानन राजे हंसानन गरुडासन हंसानन गरुडासन वृषवाहन ताजे ओम जय शिव ओंकारा चार चतुर्भुज दस भुज अति सोहे बोले दस भुज अति सोहे त्रिगुण रूप निरखता त्रिगुण रूप निरखता त्रिभुवन जन मोहे ओम जय शिव ओंकारा अक्षमाला वनमाला मुंडमाला धारी शिव मुंडमाला धारी चंदन मृग मद सोहे चंदन मृग मद सोहे भाले शशिधारी ओम जय शिव ओंकारा श्वेतांबर पीतांबर भागं भर अंगे स्वामी भागं भर अंगे सरकाधिक करुणाधिक सरकाधिक करुणाधिक भूताधिक संगे ओम जय शिव ओंकारा के मध्य कमंडलु चक्र त्रिशूल धरता स्वामी चक्र त्रिशूल धरता जगकारा जग हरिता जगकारा जग हरिता जग पालन करता ओम जय शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिव जानत अविवेका प्रणवाक्षर में शोभित प्रणवाक्षर में शोभित ये तीनों एका ओम जय शिव ओंकारा त्रिगुण स्वामी जी की आरती जो कोई नर गावे स्वामी जो कोई नर गावे कहते शिवानंद स्वामी कहते शिवानंद स्वामी मन वांछित फल पाए कर्पूरगारं करुणावतारम् संसारसारम् भुजगेन्द्रहारम् सदा वसन्तम् हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Beautifully put information about Lord Shiva's temple in ancient China. Hope you guys learned a little something. Lesson for today, from the Tirukkural, the 108 principles of the value system. Coming up today is number 10, as we're teaching it to you in order. Today's lesson, do not covet anything that belongs to others. Be content and satisfied. That comes from Palindran Munsami, and we all know him as Shiva from the Weinberg Street Temple. Well, he used to be at the Weinberg Street Temple. Now he's just, someone spiritual that has always been a part of my journey now. So thank you so much for always helping us with the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural. It's much appreciated. I hope you guys learned something new today. But before we go, we're not going to leave you on a serious and all, sad note. No. Today we're going to close off the show with Auntie Sheila coming up with broad beans curry being cooked right here live on Atsonville TV. Check out.
Ooh, Vanakkam, darling. I'm going to start with a clean note because it's Namasivaya's day. So I'm making broad beans, right? Okay, darling, so what we got is, we got some jeera and some cinnamon sticks in the oil. And as you can see, I'm adding onion and I'm adding some thyme, right? Now, if the video shakes a little bit, because you must understand I got one hand, right? I'm doing everything. I'm cooking, I'm filming, I'm doing everything. Hey, but darling, I'm so excited to be back, man. This onions cook a little bit. Okay, darling, now that my onions are cooking, it's getting a little bit brown, but it's golden brown, mustn't burn now. Are you talking about burning? Oh, sad, yeah, Australia, how the fires are. But thank God we all prayed together, we came together, and see, God is answering our prayer. I think some rain came. Anyway, darlings, now then I'm just going to add some chopped tomatoes and some garlic. So what I'll do is I'll put my ginger and garlic into the oil a little bit. Hey, what, like this, I'm suffering, man. And then I'm putting my tomato, right? And what I say, darling, you're all making jokes, you're repeating and saying, must cook the tomato nicely. The other day, my sister-in-law sent me one day message saying she's cooking a tomato nicely. I told her I'll give her a boot after she took on me. Right, but anyway, you let the tomato cook nicely. And then I'll come back, right, and put all the masalas. Okay, darling, as the tomato is cooking, now I'm going to show you what spices I'm using. Yeah, what we got, I'll point like a teacher, right? Okay, right, class. Yeah, we got chili powder, right? Y'all know what chili powder, whatever you like, how you like your ass to burn, you must burn it, but depends on what chili powder. But now, for broad beans curry, I like my curry must look yellow, right? So I don't put too much, about 1 tablespoon chili powder. Yeah, I got 1 teaspoon manja. This one here is jeera powder, 1 teaspoon. You know how I love jeera, I love. And this one, yes, spice, my mother mixes, man. She put jeera, dhania, she put the sticks, everything she makes, special spice for, especially broad beans curry. Then I take all this, darling, and I put it in the pot here. I throw it in the pot, just like this, right? Okay, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm braising. Okay, darling, as you can see, I added some hot water, and I'm letting the curry braise a little bit nicely, right? And then what I do is I add a dollop of some butter. Just a teaspoon, darling, nothing too much. But on camera, everything looks bigger. Let this, the margarine braise nicely. Give a little bit flavor. Vegetable, not like chicha, not so much taste. So you must put added extra, right? Let that cook. Okay, darling, now as that is cooking, I'm going to add in my broad beans boiled, courtesy of your so kind mother-in-law boils for me and keeps, because I'm a busy working class woman, and even wanting my mother to, my mother, shout out to the videos, Salosh, Roshnam, Naika, we hail from Kenville. But anyway, Namaina moved, but my hometown is Kenville. Shout out to the people there. We know how to cook well. Anyways, you know what they say, no matter where we can go in life, home is home, isn't it? So anyway, my mother do my ginger garlic, everything she grind and keep. But now the way you put the broad beans, and you must let this cook. Now you can put little bit water, darling, hot water, and let it braise before I put the potatoes, okay? Okay, darling, now as this one here is cooking, the broad beans, I'm going to just put in my potatoes, right? Hey, nowadays, you don't get the nice melting potatoes. But if you know where you get the nice melting moment potatoes, please tell me. This one cooked nice and soft, but I don't know how well it melts, man. Hey, and potato is so important in the curry. But this one cooks okay. I'm not saying it don't cook well, but not melting moments. Okay, then what you do is you let this cook nicely, and then when I come back, I will show you the end product, and I made some garlic naan with it. Right? Hey, so lovely, that garlic naan I made. Wait, let me show you. Hey, that 2-ingredient recipe is so lovely, but I sprinkled some herbs and all on it, to make it look flavorful. Right, I'll come back. Darlings, one thing I forgot to tell you, because I'll get too many messages. I forgot to tell you, what, darling, I put salt here, right? I put salt. Must put how much salt you all desire for tasting, right? When I come back, it'll be officially cooked. Ooh, as you can see, darling, curry is bubbling nicely. Color is beautiful. I'm about to plate, all right? Ooh, and this is the final, darling. Lovely broad beans with one nice curry chilies. And oh, my lovely naan. Ooh, darling, it's gonna be a jolly good Monday supper. Vanakkam, darlings.
All the way in German, guys. Okay, we ran a little over time today, but hey, it's fine. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We got Amanda Blouse coming in. She says, learned a lot today. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining the show and watching the entire show. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the Attenville TV team. Thank you so much. Kim Parashi coming in. Mika Nandri, thank you so much, Auntie Kim, for joining the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Ramashni Parashi, thank you so much for all the help that you bless us with every single day right here on Attenville TV. Very big thank you to Andy Poonen as well. From myself, Kimera, Heeralal. We'll check you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sai Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Swami Saranam Ayyappa. Hare Hare Mahadev. Good night, everyone.